Okay, I'm going to reply to a video from 2018. It's called Ask Yourself and Name the Trait Debunked, and it's by a channel called Clothespins. Let's check this out and see what he has to say. Since it's from 2018, I'm sorry guys, it's going to be some kind of older variety anti-name the trait sophistry. We're not going to be hearing today about how name the trait violates the law of identity. Let's check this out.
What's going on, guys? Clothespins here, back again with my second and hopefully final video regarding Ask Yourself / Isaac and the veganism debate. So Isaac has coined a logical consistency test called Name the Trait. Now, basically what Isaac has said, and again, I'm not making this up, he has said this himself, is that arguing against veganism using Name the Trait would either reduce a Cartesian argument to either absurdity or logical inconsistencies. Now, logical inconsistency is definitely a bad thing. Staying logically consistent in any argument is very important.
Well, bad is a value judgment. Whether logical inconsistency is bad is going to depend on whether the subject calling it bad considers it to be bad, unless you're some kind of objectivist. But I don't like logical inconsistency, and you don't either, so for the purpose of this conversation, we can call it bad.
However, Name the Trait is treated as a silver bullet against all Cartesian arguments. Now,
well, that's a strange thing to say. It depends what you mean by silver bullet. So, Name the Trait, for example, it's a tool it's like a multi-purpose tool. Like it functions in a lot of situations, very good to have in your toolkit, but there's things that it doesn't do. So like, for example, it doesn't detect false facts. If you say the trait is that I'm being attacked by the being in question, that's going to not produce a particularly absurd conclusion. Most people think it's okay to defend yourself. The problem there is the fact is false, right? It's not true that a cow is attacking you. So silver bullet might be putting it strongly. It's just a very good argument that's got a very broad application.
This has always been very interesting for me because I am vegetarian, again, basically vegan, but still arguing for the fact that carnists are not immorally absurd or immorally inconsistent if they believe in killing animals for food and nourishment. So, here is where the Name the Trait argument falls apart. I had several conversations with a lot of his Discord members, admins, mods, whatever. I won't say any names because I don't know Isaac that well. I don't know if there would be...
Wait, I thought you were showing how the argument falls apart. Why are we talking about my Discord mods?
With a lot of his Discord, where the Name the Trait argument falls apart. I had several conversations with a lot of his Discord members, admins, mods, whatever. I won't say any names because I don't know Isaac that well. I don't know if there would be repercussions for any of these members when it comes to speaking with me and having a debate with me. They all explicitly said that they don't want to speak for Isaac or his views. And I get that, I respect that, but like I said, I still refuse to say any of their names because I don't want to get anyone else in trouble. That's not my intention.
Very virtuous of you.
Here, my intention is simply to take Name the Trait argument and show where it falls apart.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into it in regards to what argument we're going to use for the trait that humans have that animals do not have. What that trait is, by this argument, is species.
Wait, the argument for the trait?
What argument we're going to use for the trait?
The trait is, you don't use an argument for the trait. An argument is a set of premises and conclusion. A trait is something, in this context, just something true of the being in question. We can think of it more like a proposition, right? So that's weird. Why would you say the argument we're using for the trait?
That humans have that animals do not have. What that trait is, by this argument, is species. So the species difference is the fact that humans are of a different species than the animals. And therefore, humans use that justification as...
Wait, okay, so the trait is species, but you framed it as the trait is being of a different species than animals. But something true of animals can't be being of a different species than animals. That's just, what? Look, the trait is supposed to be something true of animals that, if true of humans, would justify murdering them for food, right? So if we say that the trait is, what did you say, being of a different species than animals?
And the animals. difference is the fact that humans are of a different species than the animal.
It's not possible for something true of animals that, if true of humans, would justify murdering them for food to be being of a different species than animals. It's not true of animals that they're of a different species than animals. But look, I'll give you like a steel man. So it sounds like you're trying to say the property is being of a different species than humans. Is that what you're trying to say? If that's the trait, then the kind of situation, the kind of reductio we're going to have on your position is, say that we have the consciousness of someone you love. Let's say it's your mom, right? And let's say that consciousness is transmitted into a cow, right? So that cow now has your mom's subjective experience. Her mind is not in her body anymore. It's in the cow's body. It might mind, but it's weird to say a mind is in a body because that makes the mind sound like it's got a physical location, which maybe it doesn't, but whatever. Either way, that cow now has your mom's subjective experience. So the cow's mind is no longer there. It's just your mom's mind. All of the memories of raising you, of, her entire life, all of this, it's all in there, right? Now, do you think that it would be fine to just murder this being, which subjectively is your mom? I mean, if the trait is being of a different species than humans, then that's going to be what follows, right? So if you want to sit there and say, it's not absurd that I would just, terminate my mom's subjective experience, with throat slitting, go crazy. But I think most people are going to fall firmly on my side there and say that sounds like a batshit insane position. If a cow has your mom's subjectivity, it seems pretty fucking weird to say it's fine to just slaughter that being.
And therefore, humans use that justification as saying that they, are justified in killing an animal when it comes to food and nourishment. Now, here is where the argument falls apart. So saying that species is the difference. What Isaac says, in his own words, because he used this in a video where he tried to debunk someone else's views of veganism. He said, if you are okay with that, with using that argument, then you have to be okay with aliens coming down to Earth and holocausting human beings. Would you be okay with this? Now, if you say yes to this, then you are logically consistent, right? Now, if you're logically consistent in that manner, then at that point, Isaac will go on to say that your standpoint is then absurd. And that's where he says name the trait works. You are either...
Yeah, now, if you're saying that it's fine to murder a being if it's not of the human, if it's not of the, well, I mean, that's a bit weird, because that's responding to just species generally as the trait. I think that's me responding probably to someone who's just saying it's fine for any one species to murder any other species, because that's obviously a bit different than the trait not being a member of the human species. Right? That if the trait was not being a member of the human species, it's not like it would be justified for aliens to come down and slaughter humans. Humans have the trait. They don't have the trait that makes it okay to kill them. They are members of the human species. But if someone were to just make a point like it's just like species difference justifies slaughter, then yeah, that's the kind of thing that would follow, right? It's just fine for aliens to just murder humans because they're of a different species. Sure. And yeah, I think that most people would firmly place that in the absurd bin. I don't think you're going to be able to convince most people that they should think it's perfectly ethical for an alien species to just descend to Earth and holocaust everybody. Like, this is the kind of thing you would only need to say to a carnist.
They're logically consistent and absurd, or you...
Actually, forgive me, a vegetarian. Although technically vegetarians are a subtype of carnist.
You are logically inconsistent, and then you don't even have to go to the absurdity. So, or you are logically inconsistent, and then you don't even have to go to the absurdity.
Yeah, if you then reject that conclusion, if you say species difference justifies murder, but it's not okay for aliens to murder humans, which implies species difference doesn't justify murder, then you'd have a contradiction. That it's simultaneously the case and not the case that species difference justifies murder.
So, the way this is wrong is that Isaac's next statement is something like this.
Okay, so you'd accept the mass murder, the global holocaust of every human on the planet. Yeah, as I've said a million times, in order to remain consistent while opposing veganism, you have to accept absurd positions. Also, we know you're full of shit. You would not accept being murdered by an alien.
Yeah, I mean, I stand by that, actually. I was worried it was going to be some clip of me saying some shit that I don't stand by, and then I'd have to, like, explain my current position. Yeah, no, I mean, that's accurate, right? If you're just going to say it's fine to for aliens to just come down and murder everybody, yeah, I mean, that's pretty fucking absurd to me. It's pretty fucking absurd to most people. And there's a way higher chance that you're lying than that you're actually that psychopathic. I mean, it seems pretty clear to me that the percentage of people who would, like, lie to be consistent or win an argument or not go vegan is, like, higher than the amount of psychopaths who are actually fine with the entire planet being holocausted. So it's pretty safe to bet that that person is just being dishonest. So yeah, I think that that's all accurate. I stand by that comment.
So basically he says, oh, you are okay with holocausting all of the human race.
Yep, that's what follows if you say species difference justifies murder. Aliens and humans are different species. It would be ethical for aliens to murder all humans because they're of a different species. You'd have to say that it's perfectly ethical for the entire human species to be holocausted. That's what follows, correct?
You are okay with aliens coming down and just killing all of us, okay? Now here's the problem. He has taken this hypothetical that...
Please, dear baby Jesus, if the thing that he does here is the perspective switch, where he says, it would be justified from the aliens' perspective, but I'd resist it, I might just, like, commit suicide, like, on camera, like, right now. That's a joke, I won't, but... if that's what we're in for, I'm just gonna cringe on, like, a whole other level.
He originally gave. And now he has flipped the argument into something in this hypothetical that he originally gave. And now he has flipped the argument into something that it wasn't originally. So, what he's saying is that you're okay with aliens coming down and killing all of us, right? You're like, yeah, aliens, come down here. Come shoot me in the head. Kill me for nourishment. Great. Woo! Slit my neck. Whatever you gotta do. Here's the problem, though. What you're agreeing to in this hypothetical isn't saying, oh yes, I'm going to lie down here, take it, and die. No. What you're saying is, logically, you understand why the alien is doing what it's doing. You understand that for this alien, it considers your human flesh as food and nourishment for themselves, and by their mindset, they are justified in doing it.
This is real. This is actually a video. Yeah, so that's a complete red herring. What you're doing is you're answering from the alien's perspective, okay? So if I ask you, when, if you make the statement, it's ethical for beings to slaughter each other so long as there's a species difference, then what follows is that it's ethical for aliens to slaughter humans because there is a species difference. Now, when I point out that conclusion, what if you simply dodge that and you don't accept that by your own logic it's ethical for aliens to murder humans, and you instead go out of your perspective and into the alien's perspective and say, yeah, you know, from their perspective I could see why they're doing it, you're just not actually addressing what's being said to you, right? So the conclusion is that from your perspective, not the alien's perspective, I'll just re-emphasize it, right? From your perspective, not from the alien's perspective, it's ethical for the aliens to come down and do that because, as you said, species difference justifies murder. So you shouldn't try to weasel out of the absurdity, or look, I shouldn't say weasel out, maybe he just doesn't understand. You can't just get away from the absurdity by shifting out of the human perspective, out of your own perspective, that is, sorry, to the alien perspective and saying, yeah, I could see why the aliens would do it. We're talking about whether you, from your frame, think it's ethical, because your statement is that it's ethical for beings to murder each other as long as there's a species difference. If you answer from the alien's perspective, that's a red herring, right? That's just not what we're talking about. We're talking about your perspective. So I don't know how to make that any more clear. I'll just repeat it so you get it. If you say it's ethical for beings to murder each other as long as there's a species difference, it's ethical for aliens to murder humans. If you try to dodge the fact that that's the conclusion of your position by saying, something about how the aliens would find it ethical. You're just not noticing the conclusion, which is that according to your ethics, why am I pointing at myself? According to your ethics, it's actually fine for them to do that. Because, again, as you said, if there's a species difference, that's what justifies murder.
That doesn't mean that you're like, yeah, come kill me. No. What you're saying is
What it means is that you think it would be ethical for the aliens to holocaust the human species because there's a species difference.
Understand why they're doing it. Like I said...
No, we're not talking about whether you understand why they're doing it. We're talking about whether it is ethical, right? So the question is, what's true of animals that, if true of humans, would justify murdering them for food, right? Name the trait is always something roughly like that. That's how it's phrased. Now... if you make... I'm just going to repeat the same thing, so I'm not going to do it. But yeah, look, if it's species difference, that means it's ethical for aliens to murder humans. It doesn't mean, oh, I understand what the aliens are doing. You're saying that you would consider it ethical so long as there's a species difference. And if you don't, then it's not the case that you think murder is ethical as long as there's a species difference. It's one or the other. Either murder is ethical as long as there's a species difference and you're fine, you think it's ethical for aliens to holocaust humans, or if you don't think it's ethical for aliens to just holocaust humans, well, then it's not the case that murder is just justified as long as there's a species difference. It's very, very simple.
You're not saying, oh yes, come kill me. No, you understand why they're doing it, but that doesn't mean that you aren't going to fight back, okay?
We're talking about whether you find it ethical. We're not talking about whether you understand or fight back or any of this. We're talking about whether you find it ethical.
They take out that variable in this hypothetical. Animals fight back. You know, in slaughterhouses, they try to escape. They show pigs jumping from trucks. They show pigs trying to just weasel their way.
And now he's talking about animals fighting back like humans would fight back against aliens, just completely missing the point. We're not talking about fighting back. We're not talking about understanding the aliens. We're talking about, is it ethical according to your ethics? If you say species difference justifies murder, it's ethical according to your ethics.
At a gaze, they see, they show cows trying to barrel their way through humans, but it doesn't work. Even if they try to fight back, guess what? They lose, okay? I think
he's just going to keep rambling like this, not realizing he's missed the point.
Do. So what I'm saying is, you'll fight back against these aliens.
Cool story. We're talking about whether it's ethical for aliens to holocaust humans.
This logical consistency, you'll still fight back. It doesn't mean you're just going to say, yeah, kill me, I deserve it. No. Now, here's the thing, is, yeah, it could be that the difference in technological advances could be so far.
He's like Molyneuxing. Now he's like getting into the like details of the fucking like alien. It's just you're missing the point. The point is, if species difference justifies murder, it's ethical for aliens to holocaust humans. Right? Or if you want me to say it backwards, if it's not ethical for aliens to holocaust humans, then it's not the case that species difference just justifies murder.
Out there that the aliens would slaughter us just as much as we, because
It's not about understanding, it's not about agreeing, it's not about fighting, it's just, all of that is just garbage. Those are all red herrings. It's about whether you find it ethical.
A vegetarian. That humans slaughter animals. It could be that exact same thing where the difference in technology is that vast. However, that doesn't mean that you're not fighting back. All this logical consistency is saying is that you understand mentally, logically, why the alien is...
No, the logical consistency... The logical consistency isn't about mentally understanding people. Look, in order to be logically consistent, if you say species difference justifies murder, it's ethical for aliens to murder humans because there's a species difference, right? That's what we're talking about. It's just going to be the same thing till the end, isn't it?
Is doing what it's doing. By that standpoint, it's not being reduced to absurdity.
No, the absurdity is if you actually think that's ethical. The alien holocaust of the entire human species, which is what follows from saying that species difference justifies murder.
Isaac reduces an argument to absurdity in the species argument is by saying that you be okay with holocausting. And they always use the word holocaust, trying to elicit an emotional response using...
Nice mind reading there about why the word holocaust is used. Also, you should acknowledge it's an accurate word to use.
Words like that. You would be okay with holocausting the entire human race if an alien race would have come down here. You would press that button
Yeah, and by okay with, we mean that it would be ethical according to your ethics.
That says, yes, Holocaust all humans. So again, that's changing.
Wait, what?
With holocausting the entire human race, if an alien race were to come down here, you would press that button that says, yes, Holocaust.
No, what? No, it's not that you would press the button. I don't know what weird friggin' tangent you're on there. It's that if, for example, the aliens push the button, right, that would be ethical because aliens and humans are different species, and species difference justifies murder.
All humans. So again,
and if you don't think that's ethical, then it's not the case that species difference justifies murder.
Again, that's changing the argument from saying, yes, aliens come down here and kill all of us, instead of saying, I do understand logically why you are doing what you are doing, because what you are doing is...
It's not about understanding. And how dare you say I'm the one changing the argument? The argument is straightforward, right? What we're talking about is what's ethical. And if you say species difference justifies murder, then it's ethical for aliens to murder humans. You are the one changing the argument. Well, not really changing the argument. You're responding to something other than the argument, so that's a red herring when you talk about understanding the aliens or whether you'd fight back.
It's killing us for food and nourishment, okay? So, yes, they try to reduce you to absurdity.
And it doesn't, food and nourishment, what's with that weird hedge about food and nourishment? It says, fuck all that. There's a species difference. That's all that's required. They could have, spaceships filled with plant substitutes. It wouldn't matter. It's still fine for them to Holocaust us, according to a system that says species difference justifies murder.
Changing your argument ever so slightly, so it's subtle.
No, there's no change of the argument. If you say species difference justifies murder and aliens and humans are different species, it's fine for aliens to murder humans. By fine, all we're saying is it's ethical according to your ethical system. Anything about understanding the aliens or fighting back is a red herring.
So it's hard to catch, but it is changing your initial argument, okay? So if you
No, there's no change of the argument. That is the conclusion of the argument. What you're doing is giving a red herring in response to the argument where you talk about understanding the aliens or about fighting back, as opposed to just straightforwardly saying, yes, it's ethical according to my system for the aliens to just Holocaust all of humans.
If you were talking to any vegans about this, don't let them do that. You are not stating...
So cringy that he's like trying to give advice.
Yes, come kill all humans, Holocaust the human race.
No, you're saying that's ethical.
No, what you are saying is that logically you understand why the aliens are doing...
If that's all you're saying, then you're not saying species difference justifies murder.
What they're doing, okay? Alright guys, that's Name the Trait. That's it broken down from the argument using species in both...
That's not... traits aren't arguments.
Both being logically consistent and not being reduced to absurdity. So, that's...
You just gave a red herring. You just didn't actually address the reductio on the position that says species difference justifies murder. You just gave red herrings about understanding the aliens are fighting back. The point is that according to your ethical system, it would be ethical for them to Holocaust humans.
That's all I have for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is really, like I said, the last time I want to talk about this. This wasn't even the initial intention when one of my subscribers linked me this video. I had no intention. I didn't even know who Ask Yourself or Isaac was. So like I said, this is going to be
Ask Yourself or Isaac.
the last video, hopefully, regarding Ask
For a second, it sounded like we were two people.
Yourself or Isaac. Okay, so I will see you guys next time. I'm going to go back to the regular stuff. Anime, movies, working out, gaming.
Okay. Well, I think that we can give that a solid faceplant. So in summation, if you say species difference justifies murder, it's ethical for aliens to Holocaust humans. Responding by talking about whether you understand why the aliens are doing it or whether you'd fight back is just a red herring. That's all for today. If you guys like what I do, support on Patreon. That is my lifeblood, just so you know. Join the Discord, and till next time.